what I'd like to say about this book is it actually, what was really fascinating for me and quite exciting, I tend to get overexcited sometimes about finding out information, leaked memos. I love getting leaked memos from anybody. And going back to researching using the Freedom of Information Act and actually talking to some of the participants like David Hunt here and Neil, we were able to really have a sort of look about how it's, what happened 25 years ago. And I originally got the idea when I realized that the Freedom of Information Act allowed you to break the 30-year rule, which as a nuisancey journalist I thought is fantastic, and that you could put requests in to get information on this. So this was actually a test bed for us on how much can you find out using new laws given by the government. And the fascinating thing is you can go quite a long way on this. And and I will just add to anyone who's interested in FOI on this, to start it off, we did an American-style trick, which is because I hadn't a clue what the Cabinet Office had on it. So we asked for the titles of all the files connected with the miners' strike. And officially, they tried to tell us they were confidential. And we said, sorry, you can't under the freedom. So once we got those, we then picked documents. At the same time, other people, and us to a certain extent, went to the Home Office and got a lot of information that the Home Office put out. And through National Archives, where they've got some information because someone dumped a pile of National Coal Board files there when it closed, we managed to get information. And the exciting bit about doing this book was combining the sort of extraordinary memos of the time with talking to the real people involved. And I hope I'm not going to steal your David Hunt's thunder, but one of the most amazing things we discovered in these Cabinet Office and files was the extraordinary letter written by Peter Walker to Ian McGregor, and it's in the book. It's a month before the end of the strike. It's disaster. It looks like everyone's ruined. And there is this scathing personal and confidential letter sent to McGregor from Walker, basically accusing him of selling out to everything Scargill wanted. And then when I talked to David, we then picked up the truth behind the letter, which was basically that they didn't know that McGregor emerges, I'm afraid, it's a pity he's not around because he emerges as a totally flaky character, actually. One stage, absolutely, let's smash up the miners to in any way possible at the beginning. And there's one marvellous thing that was given to us by Tim Bell an hour before the Brighton bomb went off. McGregor was happily, Thatcher had to ring McGregor because faced with the NACODS dispute, if you remember when the overseers were going to walk out and the whole thing was coming to an end, McGregor had this crazy off-the-wall idea of bringing in private medical consultants to act as health and safety in the pits. And Tebbit had told him no. I don't know whether David Hunt had told him no, but anyway, everyone had told him no. And he said, no, this Thatcher rings me. I refuse. And she had to ring him to stop this, which actually makes a complete lie of what I'm afraid Scargill claims, that there was about to be a settlement at this point, because they went the extra mile. But anyway, what was really vivid, if I come back to the point about this scathing letter, was that David Hunt then, in an interview, said, oh my God, I remember I was dispatched by Walker to the Belgravia flat of Ian McGregor, who was then sitting with another unforgotten hero of the Saturn. The TUC doesn't get a lot of praise, but Norman Willis, and the way he tried to negotiate is one of, I think, the heroes in this book, because he basically sort of sucked up to McGregor, and you think, oh, bloody awful, the TUC doing that. But he then lured him into rewriting the entire agreement, giving actually, with different words, everything Arthur wanted. And if David Hunt hadn't turned up, I gather armed with other papers, drawn up by the Civil Service, which removed a couple of files, got McGregor out and said, excuse me, you're just about to sign away everything, as I gather. I mean, you can probably... And it ended with the extraordinary position of that they nearly signed away the whole thing a month before. And it's facts like this that actually I found really interesting. The other extraordinary thing is that the Corton Wood, the pit that came out, was not the pit, was not planned, it was a mistake. And this only comes up under freedom of information because there's a coal board report saying the poor area manager had exceeded his powers, never had any approval of the coal board, and this thing sort of happened. And by then it was too late because it was post-Orgreave and everything else, and there was a full, basically, civil war going on. But that is one of the, it's rather like, Francis and I, and Francis really have this great line, that this was a bit like the World War I, because it was basically both sides were fighting in the trenches. The government was absolutely determined to pull every mile, throw every money out, keep electricity down, do anything to hold out against Scargill. Scargill was equally determined to push the thing and take everything on in all directions, and neither side would give down. But rather like the Sarajevo moment, actually, it started by an error, because this pit shouldn't have been closed. And the fascinating thing is you follow it right up until the first meeting between MacGregor and Thatcher at the beginning of the strike. Everyone had said previously, oh, and MacGregor had said, I went in and I told her this, that and the other, and, and we all planned it all. Well, I was very helped by Andrew Turnbull, who was Thatcher's private secretary, said, put an FOI in just for that date. And first of all, as usual, say no, so I got rather cross. And I said, well, it's all very well, but Andrew Turnbull has suggested this. And it came back by return post then. But basically, the meeting was nothing to do with the miners' strike. MacGregor was totally exercised about the Channel Tunnel link and said nasty unions, the French and the Brits, were going to stop all the trains going under the tunnel. Unless we had a super road bridge where people could drive over and he could make a fortune out of it. The great thing is all the side papers, though, Thatcher thought he was a twat and said, no, I can prove all this is wrong and here's my advice. And it was only then, because Turnbull was there, they suddenly turned and said, this miners' strike's really getting serious now. Shall we do something? So anyway, that just gives you a good idea. I won't go on too long. Our only last thing to say is Arthur Scargill wrote to The Guardian yesterday saying I had to apologise to the union and everything over the fact of this Lord Whitelaw talks. Terribly sorry. Obviously, Arthur didn't know, but the Keys diaries say on December the 14th, House of Lords meeting with Lord Whitelaw, and in January, meeting with Mick McGarchy, secret meeting in Keys, with plans from Whitelaw to end the strike. I'll stop there.